I don't want intimacy anymore. I just want money. That's what really matters. That's what she said to me. No yelling, no tears, just those 8 words, cold and deliberate, like she'd been rehearsing them. And I remember standing there, holding a half-folded towel from the laundry, watching her slide her phone into her silk robe pocket like I just interrupted something far more important than our marriage. First I laughed. I thought she was joking. You mean you want to focus on your career, right? I said. Not just money. But she didn't laugh. She didn't even look at me. I mean exactly what I said, Daniel, she replied, finally glancing up with that weary, distant expression she'd been wearing for months. Love doesn't pay bills. Comfort does. That was the night I realized I was married to a stranger. We used to lie awake talking about dreams, traveling to Italy, starting a family, maybe opening that little coffee shop she always wanted. Now she stayed up scrolling through designer bags on Instagram, while I tried to fall asleep pretending the space between us wasn't a canyon. It started subtly. She began spending more on self-care, as she called it, massages, facials, networking dinners. When I'd ask how her day was, she'd say, exhausting, in that tone that ended conversations before they began. The intimacy faded quietly, like the dimming of a light you don't notice until you're sitting in darkness. One night I tried to reach for her. She pulled away. I'm tired, she said. Don't make me feel guilty for not being in the mood. I'm not, I said softly. I just miss you. She sighed. Then buy me something nice tomorrow. That'll make me feel close. Sounded like a joke. But it wasn't. That became her pattern, affection traded like currency. If I booked her a spa trip, she'd kiss me longer. If I paid for her new phone, she'd laugh at my jokes again. I told myself she was stressed, that maybe I wasn't giving her enough attention, that things would go back to normal soon. Love makes you invent reasons to ignore the truth. Then one afternoon while I was working from home, her phone buzzed on the counter. The name flashed. James Consulting. She'd mentioned him before. A client she'd been helping with a project. The message read, "You were amazing last night. I can still smell you on me." My heart stopped. I stared at the words until they blurred. Then, as if my body moved on autopilot, I opened the thread. Dozens of messages. Voice notes. Photos. Her voice laughing, calling him baby. Her face half covered by a hotel sheet I didn't recognize. For a minute I couldn't breathe. I just sat there, the world spinning, my chest hollow. When I finally looked up, the window reflected my face, and I barely recognized the man staring back. When she came home that evening, humming, smelling of expensive perfume, I was sitting at the kitchen table with her phone beside me. She froze. "Why are you looking at my phone?" "Because you left it here," I said quietly. "And because I had to see for myself what I already felt." She swallowed hard. "Daniel, listen." "To what?" I cut her off. "To how you turned me into a paycheck. To how every kiss had a price tag." Her eyes hardened, and for a second I saw something cruel flash across her face. Defensiveness maybe, or shame dressed as anger. "You think you're some saint," she snapped. "You couldn't give me the life I wanted. You're content being ordinary." "I'm not." Her words landed like punches. "You could have said that," I whispered. "You didn't have to sell me lies." She looked down, her voice trembling now. "He made me feel powerful. Like I mattered. And I didn't?" She didn't answer. I packed a bag that night. Not hers, mine. She didn't try to stop me. She just stood there, arms crossed, like she was watching something inconvenient rather than tragic. I spent the night in my car, parked outside the park where we used to walk our dog. I scrolled through old photos, her smile, my hand on her back, sunsets, laughter. I kept thinking, how do two people go from promising forever to this? For weeks I lived like a ghost. Went to work, came home to silence, cooked for one. My friends noticed, asked what happened. I couldn't bring myself to tell them. How do you admit your wife traded your heart for a credit card? Then one morning she called. "Can we talk?" I didn't answer. She texted. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. Can we fix this?" For a second I almost caved. Because even after everything I still loved her. Or maybe I loved who she used to be. But that same day, a bank alert pinged on my phone. She'd withdrawn $5,000 from our joint account. That's when I stopped doubting. I filed for separation quietly. No scene, no argument. Just a lawyer, some papers, and a line in my chest I refused to cross again. A week later, she showed up at my apartment door. She looked tired, no makeup, no bravado. "You really did it," she whispered. "Yes." She stepped inside without asking. "I thought you'd fight for me," she said. "I did," I replied. "For years. You just didn't notice." She sat on the couch staring at her hands. "James isn't what I thought. He's gone. It was never about him, Daniel. It was about me feeling like I wasn't enough." I wanted to believe her. But every time I looked at her face, I saw those words. "I just want money." "You were enough," I said quietly. "You just stopped believing it. And I can't fix that for you." Tears slipped down her cheeks. It was the first time I'd seen her cry in months. "Do you hate me?" she asked. "No," I said after a long silence. "But I can't love you the same way anymore." She nodded, stood up, and walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned back once. "You really were a good man," she said softly. "Maybe too good." When the door closed, I sat there for a long time, feeling the weight of every memory collapse into quiet. The divorce took 6 months. She moved in with a friend, then to a smaller apartment across town. I heard she lost her job soon after. Occasionally she'd text asking how I was, but I never replied. There wasn't anything left to say. Last week, I ran into her at the grocery store. She smiled nervously, holding a basket of instant noodles and discount wine. "You look good," she said. "Thanks," I replied. "So do you." We stood there awkwardly, strangers with history. Before she walked away, she whispered, "I hope you found what matters to you." I smiled faintly. "I did," I said. "And it wasn't money." She looked down, nodded once, and left. Driving home that night, I thought about everything I'd lost, and what I'd gained. Peace. Self-respect. The realization that love isn't supposed to be a transaction. It's supposed to be a choice renewed daily without conditions. For so long I thought loving her meant giving her everything she wanted. But now I know love dies not when the money runs out, but when respect does. And as I pulled into my driveway, lights glowing warm through my window, I whispered to myself the truth I'd spent months avoiding. Sometimes walking away isn't losing. It's remembering what you're worth.